Don't worry, it's easy.
All right.
All right, welcome to another episode of F1 Fanatics. Today we're back to McLaren with their fancy car. So I take offense at what Stella said. Stella came out the other day and said, "Oh, Piastri, it's not a problem with the car. It's not a problem with favoritism. It's a problem with his driving. He needs to learn how to adapt on tracks that have low grip." But he did well in the Mexico race by coming back and coming fifth. So I think he's added more tools to his toolbox. He needs to add more tools. He adjusted his driving the way that Norris adjusts his driving. Before I make any comments, what's your reaction to that statement? So he's basically saying that Piastri doesn't do well on tracks of low grips and these last four tracks, but he just has to adapt his driving by adding new skills. What do you think about that statement? Yeah.
Man, I think I'm just going to go straight to the point and say that McLaren slowed down Piastri's pace. They didn't give him enough pace
Yeah.
for that race. I don't think had that. I'm just going to say it. It had
Yeah,
nothing
they
to do
did.
with Piastri's driving skill or anything. I think they toned down his engine. So that he doesn't interfere with Lando Norris. That's what I think. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
take on it.
And I agree. And here's the thing: Stella is not a team principal. Or technical director? He's actually the PR man for McLaren. He's the PR man, just to spin stories. Now, here's what I think: whether deliberately, like you said, or indeliberately, they have slowly broken this guy apart through team orders.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, through team orders. Then, when the car has sliding issues on all tracks, Norris was struggling with sliding issues because the front grip is so much that the back end loses on sliding issues. They gave Norris geometry suspension. Now, they say they offered it to Piastri. Piastri says he rejected. I agree with that. But at this point, they should have forced Piastri to take that front suspension geometry. Or maybe when he said, "I don't want it," they said, "Okay, leave you alone." They should have insisted, because they don't have the same car anymore, because Norris's car has that geometry which gives you feedback and helps with the sliding. They're saying that Norris did well in Mexico with the sliding because of his timing, because he breaks late and does all kinds of fancy things. If he's doing those fancy things, it's because the car is giving him feedback and he's confident. Piastri doesn't have that. And going beyond, I agree with what you're saying. It's not just that front suspension geometry. They did something to his car, because that car did not have pace. They keep saying he
Yeah.
doesn't know how to drive on sliding tracks. One thing I know about Piastri doesn't make excuses. If he drives badly, he'll say, "I drove badly." He said, "I'm doing everything correctly, but the car just doesn't have any pace." I know Piastri has never been one to make excuses. The other week, he said, "I drove like shit," when he hit uh, and caused a crash in the sprint race with him and his teammate. But so if he's saying that, I trust that what he's saying is true. They've dialed down his car. And not only that, I feel that Norris's car was souped up. I know that he had the advantage of being on high altitude. Because
Yeah. Hmm.
there are rumors that either McLaren or Mercedes went over the cost cap. There's something funny about that car, just like in Zandvoort, where even before the race in Zandvoort, when Norris won by 20 seconds, he was already high-fiving the engineers because he knew he would win. There are still some questions that we have to ask about McLaren. We won't find out until 2 or 3 years from now. But it's
Yeah.
clear that they're fully behind Norris. No, once again, I'll repeat it. It's not Norris's driving ability skill that's helping him drive on low grip better than Piastri. It's the fact that he has that front suspension geometry, and also the fact that he's good with tires anyway. But that doesn't say why he comes P1 and Piastri comes P7 in qualifying. It's not just up to driving. There's no way Piastri is struggling with Tsunoda and Co. in qualifying based on Piastri's driving. Would you agree? That means that the car, like you said, is either sabotage or they're just not putting energy into his car. What are your thoughts, Mr. Johnny?
Yeah, because I mean, I saw him all the way back there in sixth, seventh, and eighth position. I mean, and that's not Piastri. Even if Piastri is going to drive badly, he'll be in fourth. Like he'll be in fourth. He'll become fourth, but not all the way back there. In
Yeah.
qualifying. That's where they really did him in
Yeah.
qualifying. That's what I think. But well, we'll see how it's going to go. This how they're gonna whether
Brazil.
they will put him down in the next race or they're going to let them race. I don't know, but we're really going to see their hands right now, because actually I was expecting Piastri to win the Mexico race. I mean, because he didn't get enough points last time and so on and stuff like that. So, but what? Well, we're going to see how it's going to be.
Bounce back because remember I told you F1 is a circus. Just when you say somebody is finished, they come back. Everybody said Verstappen is finished. Then when he won 4 races in a row, then they said Verstappen's going to win. Then he loses to Norris. Have you noticed that whenever somebody tends to have momentum, they lose momentum all of a sudden? And
Yeah,
so whether that's just the natural pace of F1 or because it's manipulated, but I really believe that they downgraded Piastri's car and they
that's
souped
true.
up Norris's car. And I think they won't do it again for the rest of the season because if they keep doing it, you know how Red Bull spies, somebody's going to notice something on the telemetry and catch them. You get my point. So they said, okay, let's
Yeah,
do this now. So I think I don't think they're going to do continue because if they continue doing it, it's risky because a lot of people, there's a lot of data that takes place in these races, and there are people who are monitoring the engine power and things even
that's
outside.
true.
So I don't think they're going to pull it off. But I think that F1 is committed to having two things: to having Norris win, and also even if they don't want to have Norris win, they want this thing to go down to Abu Dhabi. I promise you, at Abu Dhabi, it's going to be those three fighting for it. You get my point. Same way
Yeah.
they manipulated the race between Verstappen and Hamilton up and down. Remember,
Hamilton. Oh man,
there were some times when Verstappen was leading by 20, then Hamilton would come back and lead by 10, and then it came down to the last race, and then
wow.
they manipulated the last lap. I'm telling you, F1 is a very, very dirty sport. What are your thoughts? Yeah.
That's it, man. It's a circus show, and the show must go on. They must always do things to make things interesting and make it like dramatic and this and that. So I guess that's what it is,
And they don't need to do that. They don't need to do that. Just let the guys drive. If you don't manipulate the thing, it's going to be fun to watch these guys drive. But they have to do what they have to do. But yeah, so the problem with Brazil is that in Brazil now there's rain, so track characteristics aren't as important. The big question now is how well would Norris and Piastri do in the rain? We know Verstappen would do well. We know that Hamilton would do well, and I still think they're holding back Hamilton. There's no reason why Hamilton hasn't got a podium this year. They're fucking this guy up. Let me tell you, giving Hamilton a 10, I'm a Verstappen fan, but that was bullshit when they gave him a 10-second parking and nobody else.
Whoa.
All the rubbish people were doing. Look, I don't know the rules of F1, but when I saw Verstappen break out of the track and make that shortcut, I was like, there's no way. I don't even care if he maintains his position. I said that I was even sad. I said, man, Verstappen is going to get a penalty. No penalty for him. No penalty for they should have just let them race. Don't give anybody a penalty. And the only person that gave a penalty was Lewis Hamilton. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, that was he was one that got caught, He's the
Yeah,
thumb
I
that
guess he got
that stood out. That's actually. But I noticed something about Brazil. Just thinking way back, like from the in the early 2000s. Brazil was always sunny and bright. There was just
yeah.
once or twice you get a rainy, but most likely it's gonna be rainy.
Again. Well,
And that's how it is.
You know what it was? They used to have the Brazil race at the end of the year. And I think the
I
weather changed.
see.
And once again, I think they're manipulating this again. They want to rain because they want to bring back memories of Senna and Co. There's so many different things because now it's Abu Dhabi that's the last race of the year. Brazil used to be the last
Yes.
race. I think Hamilton won in Brazil his first title. It was raining though, but yeah, the weather has changed. So I don't know what's up with that. Also, there's a lot of crazy shit, man. I'm going off tangent. In China they can create rain or they can stop rain. In China they can create rain by making clouds.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm not saying that that's what they're doing, but I'm just saying that this sport is so dirty and it's nothing new. Max Mosley and Ecclestone, those guys were terrible. They knew that the Alonso crash gate. That's why Felipe Massa is now suing them. They knew that that was unfair and those points should have been taken away. And maybe Massa might have won the championship. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in F1 that's very, very, very dirty. Can you imagine the fact that they brought Briatore back? They banned Briatore for life and they brought him back. So it shows that
Yeah.
because of the money in the circus, and just like I promise you, what's his name will be back next year, Horner, because Horner is important for the marketing of the sport.
Oh, of course. Yeah, he's going to make his comeback into the
Yeah,
like in episodes. He's going to come back in
it's
his
all for
own
TV,
comeback
man.
episode.
It's all for
Yeah.
TV. Susie
Yes.
Wolf, to the Wolf. And these guys are billionaires, man. They're billion. Even Verstappen, Verstappen is doing business with Alonso. They have cars. At the end of the day, it's just like all of us are friends, right? You and me. Even though we compete against each other, at the end of the day, we all have beers. You get my point? Like, let's say
Yeah,
we all
behind the
have
curtains.
and we'll be laughing at the fans who are crying. Fans, some fans will kill themselves because Hamilton lost, and the rest of them would just be like, "Oh yeah, remember last week when you cheated?" And they'll just laugh and still be
Yeah,
friends. Don't mind them.
to each
And you
other.
know what?
Yeah,
You have to
well,
remember these guys have known each other since they were young boys. So
that's
it's
true.
just like if me and Kule argue or I argue with you, and people are like, "Oh, Verstappen hates Russell." You have to remember that's just a childish feud. Like how sometimes we argue on the other day
Yeah,
on our WhatsApp. We argue on our WhatsApp, and everybody say, "Oh, now Moose hates so and so, and so and so hates Moose." Tomorrow we'll still be friends, even though we're angry at each other. These guys grew up
yeah.
together because the F1 thing is literally a circus. Like in a circus where you travel from city to city. These guys have been
Mm-hmm.
together since F1
Well,
Academy.
well, yeah. It's also a picture the other day of Russell and Verstappen. Well, I
Yeah,
think they were like 12 years old, holding trophies.
yeah.
They're like, wow,
And
that
they'd
was
be like,
hardcore,
but
man.
when people see it now, they'll think, oh, Russell doesn't know Verstappen, Verstappen doesn't know each other. They hate each other.
Yeah,
They've had these types of arguments for
they,
decades, man.
they know each
Yeah,
other very, very well. Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Like Toto Wolff doesn't like what's his name, Horner. But when Horner got fired, he said Horner is great. He'll be back again. I respect him as a human being. And they'll call Horner. We need you back. We need more money. Come on, do some more bad things. Say more bad things. You know what I'm saying? Even Muhammad, they say they hate Muhammad and they want to kick him out. The owner, all of those guys, I bet you they all have yachts together and they have the same
Oh,
girlfriend.
they're all in on it. We're just here making noise,
I think that
thinking
there's some
that
outsiders.
it's
Let me tell you who I think is an outsider. I think Piastri is an outsider. I think Hamilton is an outsider, and I think that Leclerc are outsiders. They're just private people who live their life. Would you agree? Leclerc.
I
I
can
mean,
say yeah, Leclerc.
what about
Leclerc,
Hamilton? I
Leclerc.
also think what I mean by an outsider is that not that nobody likes them, but they have separate life from the F1 circus. Leclerc
Yeah.
drives, but have you noticed you never hear him talking bad about anybody, or you never see. I think once in a while Leclerc maybe hang out with people like who's that guy that drives for Sauber, Hulkenberg, those types of guys. They're friends, but it's not that
Yeah.
they're part of the circus. Another guy we haven't heard of lately, but we know he's going to be back next year. Everyone's favorite driver, Bottas. Bottas is
Bottas,
everybody's friend. I
he's,
like
he's,
Bottas.
he's, he's growing his mustache and his hair, getting ready for
I can't wait. I don't care if they
tomorrow.
come last. It's going to be fun to watch Bottas and Checo race each other in that car, man. It's going to be fun. All right. So take us any last thought. Take us out on any last thoughts you have about this thing. To round it up, basically, I find it offensive that Stella comes out and says that it's not the car, it's Piastri, but he's learning. He will learn to drive on no grip. Your last thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, that's just mean. Probably didn't have anything better to say. Just
Yeah, but he
talking
feels he
rubbish.
needs to say something. Yeah.
Yes, because my mind is still on that fact that they dialed his car down. They did something to his car, to Piastri's car. They toned it down, and they're just using that to just. He just said
Yeah,
that
they
to
did.
just. Yeah.
And my own thing is this. There's an old statement like if let's say somebody is a hitman and you pay somebody to kill somebody, right? And they didn't kill the person and somebody shot them. You're not supposed to ask the hitman who was it that shot you because of honor. You get my point. You're not supposed to ask him. If a hitman fails or if a soldier fails, you don't say, hey, what happened? You don't ask them what happened. They'll deal with it privately. So my argument is that they don't is they, McLaren doesn't have to come and explain why Norris is driving poorly because it's not going to affect how he drives. Just shut up and let's see what happens. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It'd be just like me saying, coming to the public and say, "Oh, I don't know why Kunle stumbled on our show yesterday. I think it's because we didn't have electricity." Everybody, you don't have to bring it up. I'm not. That didn't happen with Kunle. I'm using it as a hypothetical. You get my point?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You don't see whenever. Have you ever heard Helmut Marko come out and make an excuse for Verstappen? He never talks about Verstappen's results. He just says, we have to make the car better. That's all he says. Have you ever heard Helmut Marko say, oh, Verstappen needs to, and we know that Verstappen needs to change the way he drives on low speed corners. Have you ever heard Helmut Marko say it?
He does himself,
I promise you, I
backstage.
promise you, he's Verstappen's mentor. I promise you, he says it to Verstappen when the camera isn't there. You get my point?
Yeah. Yes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
And I'm sure
been
that many times when Verstappen was crashing into Hamilton, I'm sure they talked to him. But you don't go out on TV. In fact, Red Bull is the opposite. They will always insult the other people's teams. You get what I'm saying. So we'll leave it at
yeah.
that. So yeah. So we'll be back So with you, maybe Friday, depending on your schedule, so that we can talk about the free practice if you're free in the evening. Or if not, then I'll see you on Saturday, Mr. Johnny. And then also I'll
All
send you the
right, all
info
right.
for the thumbnail for this one. Thanks very much, guys. You've been watching F1 Fanatics, the
Yo.
craziest show. We got our sunglasses on, everything. Have a good day, Mr. Johnny. What do you
All
have
right,
planned
you
for
too.
now,
I
Mr.
think
Johnny?
this.
Yeah, what do you have
What is
planned
it?
now? What do you have planned when we leave now? TV for Champions League,
Now,
right?
right now I'm actually going to see somebody, and then we're going to watch a match. There's a Champions League going on.
Oh yeah, big match, Liverpool and Real Madrid.
Liverpool
Also,
and Real
also the
Madrid,
bigger one, PSG and Bayern Munich.
PSG and Bayern. Yeah, that's the main one, man. That's because I think what's the Liverpool? They're not going to stand a chance against Real Madrid, but
Nah, nah.
Bayern and
PSG,
PSG.
that's the finals. That might even be the finals.
That's
All right,
that's like
yeah, Mr. John, have fun. So I'll send you the thumbnail very soon. Thank you. Okay.
all right, cool.